Welcome back. All right, so some more news of the day as things are really busy because we're getting closer and closer to those final cuts, right? So some cuts being made today. I talked about it in the first news video. I'm going to talk about it again in this news video. Starting with Giuseppe, who has not been sent down by the Canucks, and he doesn't want to be sent down, and he's playing like he doesn't want to be sent down, and so he's forced himself into the conversation for maybe a fourth line spot. I'm a fan of Giuseppe's. He played well here in Abbotsford last year. I think he's earned an opportunity. I hope he gets it. I also think Sheldon Dries was pretty good for the Abbotsford Canucks, and then he had some appearances for Vancouver as well. So we'll see how that fourth line ends up turning out. Mackenzie Weegar, he and his agent have both said that they want an extension with the Flames done before the season gets started. So they don't want any distractions once the season gets started, which is completely understandable. It sounds like he wants to sign an extension. And if you're Brad Treliving, you get it done, and then you don't have to worry about it later. And that's really the key thing here, right? So yeah, hopefully Weegar gets that extension from Calgary. And then for Flames fans, I mean, I don't know about winning or losing the trade with Tkachuk and whatnot, but I'm going to say at least they don't lose the trade. If both guys sign long-term extensions with the Flames, I'd say they're in pretty good shape. Russian players will be allowed to play in Prague. There was some debate back and forth, but the NHL never really had any debate about it. Bill Daly said, no, they're playing. And Mike Greer said, either we all play or we don't play. And it looks like Czechia said, all right, so for these two games, the Russian players will play. It looks like it's probably going to be two players on each team that may take to the ice in this, either the first or the second game. But again, remember, these are regular season games as well. So these aren't preseason games. These are games of actual consequence for San Jose and Nashville. So you get your both best team out on the ice. So we'll see how it turns out. But at the very least, that's one distraction the NHL doesn't have to worry about. And it's as I said last year when people said, oh, are Russian players going to be able to play in the NHL? I said, they're millionaires and billionaires. They'll figure it out. Again, they're millionaires and billionaires. They figure it out. That's how that works. In terms of waivers, the Rangers, Turner Elson and CJ Smith apparently waived by the team. For the Arizona Coyotes, it's John Sebastian Dia, who Dia's played in the NHL before, so possibly gets picked up, not likely. Michael Carcone on waivers as well. I'm a little bit surprised with Carcone. I thought Arizona would have him on the roster to start the season, but he should pass through waivers. Detroit fans, it's never a good thing. And every time I wear a Detroit jersey for a news video, I remember like 2 years ago when Detroit fans were complaining I never wore a Red Wings jersey in a news video. I pointed out at the time I don't wear jerseys in news videos usually for teams that are going through good things. And in Detroit's case, Robert Haig is out indefinitely, could miss the start of the season. He took a puck to the head last night. So scary incident and all that, not so fun stuff. Of course, Haig was signed in part because Pesek, who they had signed, is injured to start the season, so this could definitely leave a hole on that blue line. That being said, Detroit's got some good young players. We'll see how the blue line shakes out coming out of training camp. Sampo Ranta has been waived by Colorado. They, of course, also waived Johansson and Hunt, but Ranta's one that was added to that list that I didn't have on the list this morning. Antoine Roussel, if you were planning on buying a Roussel Flyers jersey, you might have wanted to hold off. Roussel has been released from his tryout with the Philadelphia Flyers. This is something we're going to be seeing over the next few days. A lot of guys getting released because rosters are going to get trimmed down. Those split squad games disappear. And, you know, a lot of these guys who get tryouts don't end up making the team. Richard Panik is amongst those on waivers. He's waived by the New York Islanders today. We'll see if he clears. Probably does. But again, Panik, veteran player. Maybe there's somebody somewhere in the league that decides to pick him up for fourth line duty, but I would say odds are that he clears. Now here's one of those eyebrow raisers of a sort. Mitch Marner, who's been seen as a pretty good defensive forward. Well, the Maple Leafs are trying him on the blue line, and not as in like for full time he would just be a defenseman, but as a another look that they're going to put out there. So he's played some shifts with Morgan Riley. I believe this has just happened at practice. I didn't see it in the game last night. I don't think it's happened in a game yet, but they're toying with the idea of whether or not Marner could play on the blue line as well as play up front. And it's definitely something that we used to see in the NHL, I think, more than we do now. I remember Housley playing both. Bufflin is a guy who I remember playing both. I remember there's another one, too, that's just escaping. Wendell Clark was drafted as a defenseman, ended up playing as a forward. And so, yeah, it's something that it didn't used to be. It feels like it's more common in the past than it is now, but maybe we'll start to see it more often. And for Marner, I think it could absolutely work. Lindy Ruff is one too that he was drafted as a defenseman and ended up playing a forward position. So it is something. Brent Burns is one player too that had played forward and has played on obviously on the blue line, been a blue liner for the most part, but played forward as well. So it does happen, and I think it helps a player along. I think they become a better all-around player by having played both. So it could absolutely help Marner. Maybe that raises his asking price when his contract's up. Sure, why not? DJ Smith, as praising Claude Giroux, I've talked about Claude Giroux and how I think his leadership helps Ottawa, and he's saying the same thing, that the experience and leadership that Giroux has helps quite a bit, that Giroux has a different perspective on things than a lot of the coaching staff does, because he's still in the league, but he's got all that experience as well, so it works out really, really well for him, and apparently it's going to work out pretty well for Ottawa. So again, if you're on that hype train for Ottawa, and I admit, I'm sort of on there myself, it's kind of hard not to continue to get hyped up when you see things like this. They've got a very good, young, talented team, and you've got veterans as well that are helping to shepherd things along. So everything looked good for Ottawa. In a couple of weeks when the games matter, we'll see whether or not it translates to regular season success. Trevor Zegras, so if you're a Ducks fan wondering about his injury status, apparently we'll know more tomorrow. He's been sent for further testing and looks, and so we'll have the results from whatever doctors find that's wrong, and whether or not he's going to be out for a long time, whether it's only going to be, for a very short period. But we'll have a better idea tomorrow as to what's going on with Zegras. And of course, if you're a Ducks fan, you have your fingers crossed on that, because Zegras really is the guy that if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs or get to the playoffs, they have to have him. And while playoffs may sound like a crazy idea for the Ducks, this time last year we weren't talking much about the LA Kings necessarily being a playoff team either, and yet it happened. So it's possible that another California team joins them this year, or maybe replaces them. Maybe we see things switch around. We'll find out. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always, about any of these items. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.